we're finishing chapter 3 because I went over on length. This one is probably going to be shorter than normal because I accidentally did like 12 minutes longer on the other one. This would be normal length if I didn't, because I'm not a smart person. But yeah, welcome back, I guess. Still in chapter 3. I don't know the name of chapter 3. It's chapter 3 of Butterfly Region by SilentTeyz. I do not remember the chapter. Yeah. Alright, continuing. As soon as Tommy folds the piece of paper and ties it up to the bird's leg, it spreads its wings and takes to the skies. He and Tubbo both watch it fly higher and higher until it becomes nothing but a dot, quickly nearing the horizon. I wonder if it's going to return, Tubbo says, and even if Tommy doesn't voice it, he really, really hopes that it does. Who's going to return? Wilbur asks. Tommy doesn't hear him coming and flinches as he turns to face his brother. Here Wilbur is, leaning against a tree, almost emerging, one with its shadow. Now, his stance akin to a curious fox lurking around a chicken scoop. Scoop? They meant coop, it's fine. A chicken coop. An absent smile on the crown prince's face momentarily turns into a moderate frown, not deep enough for an angry glare, but deep enough to make it apparent to Wilbur that his presence is not welcome. Did you want something, Wilbur? Tommy asks coldly. Gotta make sure it's cold because ice. Yeah. The older prince makes a sound, straightening up and dusting off his deep blue tunic. So aggressive, he says accusingly. And I just want to invite you to join us on a trip around town. Us? Me and Ronbu, of course. The boy gets so excited over the simplest of things that I wanted to see his reaction to some of the places we like to visit as children. Tommy's face twitches. Wilbur smirks, continuing. Remember the rainbow fountains, or that alleyway where people play music in the evenings? It was your all-time favorite spot. Only because you would join the musicians, Tommy wants to say. But that wouldn't be the case anymore, would it? He keeps these words shut behind sealed lips. As satisfying as it would be to win against Wilbur in his own game, it would still be too low of a blow to remind him that he stopped playing music after Mother's death. Well, what a shame that I'm too occupied to accompany you today. I'm sure that a short break is acceptable. I just said that I'm too occupied. If not for you, then for Tubbo? Tommy blinks, confused. Tubbo, who stood as a silent shadow behind the prince's shoulder since the start of the conversation, glances up in surprise. Me? I love how I worded that. Just like the, me? Excuse me? I love how I said that. Oh my god. Ugh. Wilbur hums. Ronbu is still very shy around me. I assume it could be something to do with the difference in titles and age. Perhaps having Tubbo with us could help him relax a bit. The sheer audacity of the act almost makes Tommy choke. Burn in hell, Wilbur. You're being an ass. Woo! Wilbur shows up just to bother him, and not only rubs his fake friendliness towards Ronbu in his face, but he also suggests that he sends Tubbo, his best friend and his main escort throughout the day to follow around a commoner. I think somebody might be forgetting his place. Tommy grits out through his teeth. Somebody certainly does. They might be looking that person in the face at this very moment. Didn't you promise Father that you'd be on your best behavior with Roundboo? What does that have to do with now? You're avoiding Roundboo. He doesn't ask, he states. At least by sending Toho, you could make it look like you're making an effort. The anger feels like it might take over Tommy at any moment and burn his bones and skin to ash. In a state like this, it's hard to keep his voice straight. Woo! And he can barely hear his own thoughts over the racing thump, thump, thump of his heart. Before he has a chance to collect himself and answer, Tebo suddenly steps in. I'll go. What? Tommy falters. All your remaining duties for the day don't require my attendance. I'll be honored to join His Highness and His Majesty's guests on their trip. See? Wilbur puts a hand on Tubbo's shoulder, but it's Tommy who shudders and snarls. Tubbo isn't your guard dog. You shouldn't keep him glued to your side. I'm not. Tommy starts, but Tubbo dips his chin just slightly, and his eyes are looking straight at him, telling him that it's okay. Tommy's jaw clicks shut. Fine. Let it be your way. But if Tubbo wants to go back at any point, I'll send him to the palace on the first transport I can find, Wilbur says. Tommy nods through the strains in his neck. Wilbur smirks with triumph and leads Tubbo away, and a half an hour later, the Crown Prince watches a carriage riding out of the main palace gates. His head on top of his folded arms, miles and miles away, in a different country, in a different place, two men waste time in a spacious room decorated with gold. One of them bends over a desk, making notes on a large map, black goggles discarded aside. The other leans over a couch, head down, yawning loudly in boredom. Relatable. Staring out of the open balcony doors, he is first to notice a large bird landing on the railings. George, look who's back, he says, pulling himself up. Before George has a chance to look away from the map, the bird disappears, and a white cat with green eyes darts across the floor behind the curtains at the side of the room. A minute later, a man walks out of there, smiling, a smiling porcelain mask in his hand. How did your trip go, Dream? Prince Dream, the first in line for the throne of the kingdom of SMP, drops himself on the couch and stares at the mask with a thoughtful look on his face. I've met a very interesting person today, he says. Woo!